All right, this is the start of part 2 of season 1 of Agents, or not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. of Gotham. This is my first episode of the second half of Gotham. This is episode 11. It's called Rogue Gallery. And if you haven't watched it yet, episode 11 and 12 are up on Hulu right now. I'm going to watch episode 12 right after this episode of Original Bacon, after I film a couple other things. But definitely watch the series. It's really great. And I'm going to start spoiling in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so you haven't watched it. It's up on Hulu. Watch them. They're really great. All right, James Gordon has been reassigned to guard duty at Arkham Asylum after it was reopened, after it was pretty apparent that Gotham has a lot of people who are mentally disturbed and that they need a full asylum in the city. He's investigating an attack on a prisoner with the help of Dr. Leslie Thompkins. And Selena Kyle finds a sick poison ivy, or ivy pepper, and takes her to Gordon's penthouse to recuperate. Meanwhile, Mooney discusses her plans to overthrow Don Falcone with Falcone's family and underboss Jimmy Saviano, who was arranged for Falcone's tribute raise, or he's angered by Falcone's tribute raise that after his money vault was found and blown up and stolen by the cops, that after it was almost stolen by Maroni, that it was supposed to look like Maroni, but it was actually fish. And either way, Falcone is pissed off. His money is gone, so he's making all of his underbosses pay tribute until that money is built back up again. And Jim Saviano, who was angered by Falcone's tribute raise, however, Saviano disagrees with Mooney's plan to become the de facto head of the family, as he is next in line and successor to Falcone. But Fish Mooney doesn't believe that, and she tries to get her muscle Butch to talk some sense into Jimmy Saviano, as they were childhood friends. Gordon asks Harvey Bullock to help with an investigation, and Bullock interrogates Arkham director Dr. Gary Lang, who is very pissed off at Jim Gordon for he blames James for the riots in the first place and the person being killed, and I believe 2 other people were killed before he was able to call in Harvey Bullock. And Harvey's like, no, this isn't a criminal, this isn't a inside investigation anymore, this, like, people are dying, so this is now a police investigation. And since Dr. Gary Lang is the only surgeon the surgeon that could do what... All right, the inmates are doing something to each other where they're putting these electrodes in their brains and basically rewiring the person's brain, and they're trying... So apparently someone is doing it, and they're getting better at it, and they're getting better results, because the first person was comatose. The next person was able to basically just recite Shakespeare afterwards, after his brain was fried, and the next person is able to be controlled and helps him break out of prison. And apparently there were some other people before that, but someone's been doing practicing surgery on these insane people at Arkham Asylum, and basically putting electrodes in their brains, frying their brains, and trying to get muscle that won't fight back against them, but will fight whoever they want them to fight. And so Gordon asks Harvey Bullock to help with his investigation, and Bullock interrogates Arkham director Dr. Gary Lang, because he's the only surgeon that's at Arkham Asylum that would be possibly be able to actually do this surgery correctly. Meanwhile, Oswald Cobblepot and an unnamed accomplice are arrested by the police for trying to buy the loyalty of some dock workers on Sal Marone's payroll. Montoya realizes she. Meanwhile, also Montoya, who stole Barbara away from James with Gordon, who was like really shaken up after finding out how deep James Gordon was in with the cops and with the corruption and with the mob. Montoya basically corrupts her and makes her come back to her, and realizes she is toxic to Barbara's health, and breaks off their relationship. When Barbara calls the penthouse, Ivy answers, stating that she is a friend of James Gordon, causing Barbara to tell her to go to hell, because Selena Kyle was making Ivy some soup, and Ivy was sleeping on the couch, and then the phone rang, and so she got Barbara all jealous that James already has another girl again. You know, I would think she would sound like a little girl to Barbara, but whatever. Gordon discovers that Nurse Dorothy Duncan is actually an inmate. Duncan releases the inmate from their cells, but is transplanted to. Well, she releases Duncan, and is the nurse that tries to help them throughout the whole episode, or tries to help Gordon throughout the whole episode. And Duncan, they end up finding out that she is actually an inmate. She's not actually a nurse. She's been running around in a nurse costume, though. Duncan releases the inmates to try and get away from Gordon, and in that she falls down and ends up getting trampled by all of the cellmates. And she's trampled to death during the chaos. Gordon, Bullock, and Essen discover that the culprit was Jack Gruber, who escapes from Arkham with his associate Aaron Helsinger after killing 2 guards and Dr. Lang after he comes back from being interviewed or interrogated by Bullock. Meanwhile, Cobblepot is eventually bailed out by Maroni, who initiated the arrest to teach Cobblepot a lesson about he had raised the amount of money that the dock workers had to pay Maroni, and was undermining basically his company, and he called him a hubris. Meanwhile, Mooney sends Butch gets in to negotiate with Saviano several times, and Saviano ends up telling Butch that he wants to give him a piece of the action. Basically, he wants to make him a partner, and that they were best friends when they were little. So why does he have all this loyalty to Fish Mooney? Saviano tries to get Butch to join his crew during a meeting at the waterfront, and in Saviano's Cadillac, but Butch is loyal to Mooney and shoots Saviano dead in his car. And so there's a jailbreak. The guy who's been doing electrodes to the people in Arkham Asylum gets away with his muscle, his one non-failed experiment to basically get muscle. And meanwhile, the doctor, Gary Lang, is dead. James Gordon and Bullock and the doctor that kind of fancies James, they're trapped inside of the asylum. The asylum gets locked back down. Gordon goes back to his penthouse to unwind. I guess he hasn't been to his penthouse in like maybe 3 days or something, because he keeps on sleeping in like the break room at Arkham Asylum. I guess he doesn't want to go home because Barbara left him. But he thinks that Barbara's home, but it was actually a bunch of dishes and stuff that was left from Ivy and Selena staying at his apartment while he was gone. And so meanwhile, Butch has killed his best friend, Fish Mooney's plan is moving forward. Don Falcone doesn't seem to suspect anything. Maroney is cracking the whip on Cobblepot, and I think Cobblepot's going to try and take down Mooney because I believe, or not Mooney, but Maroney, and because I believe Falcone was in the Batman Begins movie, and Batman did eventually have to fight Don Falcone, and I don't remember Maroney being in the series, but I do. Those names, Don Falcone and Maroney, are synonymous with Arkham Asylum or with Batman in general. So I'm not quite sure. I've never really heard of Fish Mooney before, so I believe she's gonna be killed eventually for trying to take out Don Falcone. I guess the Cobblepot is gonna eventually have to make his own gang, but we'll find out what happens next time. On Original Bacon, I'm going to be covering the next episode of Arkham Asylum after I watch it tonight. And this episode is called What the Little Bird Told Me. So it kind of sounds to me like maybe Don Falcone is starting to find out about Fish Mooney's, the girl that's working for Fish Mooney, because Fish Mooney wants her to basically be giving him this tonic that's going to suck his strength, and so that she can eventually kill him. So we'll find out what happens next time. Thank you for watching Original Bacon, and have a great day.